Come on in, sit right down. Keep your hands up and keep your chin down. Shut the door. Time to go with Randy Harris and Knockout Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Knockout Radio with Randy Harris is about to start. So get ready for the best MMA talk, games, interviews, prizes, and surprises anywhere. For Knockout Radio, I'm the voice, Ray Flores, and you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Ray Flores MMA, or facebook.com/Ray Flores MMA. And now, here's Knockout Radio.
Hey, everybody.
What is going on, everybody? It is another Wednesday. Packed show, packed house, packed things to talk about. What's up, guys?
Another awesome day, just trying to stay cold.
Awesome Wednesday.
Trying to stay cold.
Yeah. It's 95 degrees outside.
That's why you live in Florida.
True. I'd rather sweat than shiver any day.
That's why we make fun of those people in whatever month this is that says snow's still around.
That's true. That's true. Okay, fine, I'll stop.
You can battle the
bitching and
cold, you
complaining.
can't battle the heat.
Sure, you can battle it. Stay in the air conditioning.
Yeah, but if that's not an option.
Oh, okay.
Sure, why not?
Scheduled on today's program. Tried to step it up a little because each and every Wednesday is always action-packed. Gilbert Melendez, momentarily. We'll have him on in about 4 minutes.
Relevant? Kind of a big deal.
Relevant?
Kind of. Then another guy that's kind of relevant, the Count. Michael Bisping will be on at 6:20.
Nice. I love hearing him talk trash. He and Chael went to the same school. They graduated the same year.
But why, and we can even ask Michael this, they are so similar, and there are some hatreds towards Chael. There's people that dislike Chael Sonnen, but nowhere near as many as the people that dislike Bisping.
He's British.
So what?
I think that's what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that plays into it because this is not just an American thing. This is not just an American sport. This is a very worldwide sport.
Now, some of the hatred, you are right in a way, Sean. Some of it did come when they did England versus U.S.
Yeah.
So it was us versus them, us versus Canada. I know our Canadian listeners, hate when I say that kind of stuff. When you make it like that, then Americans are going to stick up for Americans.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, sometimes. But I love Michael Bisping. I think he's a decent guy. I know that when you see him at the arenas and stuff, he's kind of like Chael, though. You love to hate him.
Yeah.
And this is going to be an interesting fight.
And you need people like that.
And all he's got to do is show up.
Well,
what he says.
According to him, yeah.
According to him. Allanna Jones be on about 45 after. Big fight against Fallon Fox.
Oh.
That's right around the corner.
This one you can legitimately say she's fighting the man.
A former man.
I don't know. How's the DNA aligned? It's still...
I don't know. I'm not into that stuff, so...
You're in the fight business. You're not in the DNA business.
Exactly. Josh Samman, I know we didn't get... we're going to have a whole open forum next time.
Nice.
We didn't get it done in time, but he'll be on to kind of give his take and give his picks before every UFC event. And then because so many people wanted to know what the hell was Jovan Haye talking about last week. Because Jovan Haye didn't give out a lot of information.
No, it was Friday. Check it out Friday at 11.
Exactly. 11. So now that Friday is over, Jovan Haye is going to be on towards the end of the program to talk a little bit about Post It, Share It, Sell It.
Okay.
And what it is and how people can get involved and how you can make some money and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of what's on tap. A lot of things to talk about. Events last week, events this week. And we'll get to all that shortly.
Okay.
Shortly. Anything on your mind? What's on your mind? You're looking at me with that spaced out.
Yeah, it's just the allergies. Awful.
Can talk a little bit about the Bones Jones stuff that sold out quickly, or did it?
Yeah, that was really weird. That how that whole thing went down. Nike doesn't run a tight ship or a very smooth operation when it comes to some of this stuff.
And how would people know that it wasn't sold out unless they just happened to stumble into it? You know what I mean?
Apparently, you had to call him up and talk to him directly.
Well, no, you didn't find that out.
No, when I called today because I noticed, and the only reason I'll take it back. Friday, the shoes and the shirt, the limited edition were released. A lot of people missed out And then there was also some pictures that John Jones put online of other shirts that Nike had made. A few, the Bones Nose, and there was one that was Bones Jones that I couldn't find anywhere. Eric in Denver said that they were going to go on sale that he saw somewhere the next day at 9 a.m. or noon or however it worked. Nothing. I didn't see anything. So finally today, just going through Twitter, I see a girl holding up a shirt that John Jones retweeted, and it said Bones Jones. It was that shirt. Went online, sold out. Wait, and then I go,
They showed the pictures.
They showed the picture
of the shirts, and it said sold out.
Out of stock. Okay, that's fine. But I know I had reached out to Nike wanting to know when those would be released, and they said they would let me know and get back to me when they had a date, a time, and all of that figured out.
Yet they're already showing that they're sold out.
They were released the afternoon of Friday, the 19th, according to Nike, when I called this morning. They said that 2 stores had them, and they were only released at stores. They were not released online, is what they told me. Vegas and New York. It makes sense. Then I go online to check it again to see if it has a release date. It says out of stock, but how many would you like to put in your cart?
So it said it's out of stock,
It's out of stock.
You could put them in your cart to purchase.
You could. They will not ship until the 29th of this month, but I have confirmation of 3 Nike shirts.
So you bought one of each.
One of each.
But they were sold out.
And you can only add one of each shirt to your cart.
Per time.
Yeah, you could do... Bones Nose came in 2 different colors, and the Bones Jones came in 1. So you could add one of each to your cart, but not 2 of the same.
See, so I misunderstood because I called New York to try to get some info, and I thought they told me there was 3 different colors and the Bones Jones.
There was the Up to Me, which it just says that with the Nike check.
Maybe that's what... Okay.
That might have been the other style.
That could be.
But I was told this morning on the phone that they still had them in stock in New York.
And it's just a point. That's all. It's just the point.
And see, Nike doesn't care because people are going to buy them. So it doesn't matter who
Nike.
gets them.
They don't need to worry.
Oh, they don't need to worry at all. And that's what I don't get about some of the stuff. They make a limited number, 1,000, 2,000 shoes. I'd like to find out how many of those shoes they made because those went quick.
And it's been reported anywhere from 2 to about 4 minutes. Now, I know that I was told by Damon Martin that Malky said it was 2 minutes, yet at the 3.5 minute mark, because I was online looking at it, you could still purchase the 9 and the 11.5s at 3 minutes, 30 some seconds. So about 3.5 minutes in. By 4, totally gone.
Okay, I'm on Nike.com. I know no one cares. Out of stock, you cannot get the shoes.
Right.
One shirt says out of stock.
One shirt.
The Bones Jones, it's gray.
Okay.
That says out of stock, and when you click on it, you cannot purchase it.
Just interesting how that whole thing happened.
The same thing with the Bones Nose, but that doesn't say out of stock. And... Yep, both colors. Everything's gone now. Everything was sold out.
But so really what this is teaching you is to periodically go back.
The Up to Me, which is the first one that was released, it's black and it just says Up to Me with the Nike check and the Nike check on the back for $35. That is still available.
Really?
In all sizes, small, medium, large, XL, and double XL.
I heard everything is absolutely bonkers in New York City.
Oh, it's from what I've seen, that they're shutting the whole city down.
Yeah, and
I have to stop talking now.
A street was all shut down.
Herald Square.
As everyone's favorite reporter, and I believe he's won the last 3 times reporter of the decade, Ariel Helwani, signing autographs.
Not Derek Kuklich. Really?
Signing autographs. He was signing tap-out shirts.
Wow. Does he get his own tap-out shirt?
I'm going to talk to him on Saturday because have you seen the shirt the Helwani nose?
Yes.
With sort of a really weird-looking check?
I thought it was supposed to be the nose.
No, it's Helwani nose.
Right, it's Helwani nose. With sort of a check mark.
Yeah.
The check mark is supposed to be, isn't it?
The schnoz.
His nose.
I know, but I'm saying it's so damn close.
But obviously
to the Nike
it's
check.
not.
You don't think Nike, if they knew, would go after him?
No.
Really?
Yeah. It's
really.
It's clearly something different.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Right.
At the top of the hour break, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I just want to get on this real quick about you guys and this Jones
yes.
gear. What's
I know
the
you're
big
all on
deal?
board.
Thank you.
Holy
Thank
shit!
you.
Like seriously,
Oh my
Manny
God.
Pacquiao had a deal with Nike. I didn't see any boxing media running and jumping up and down to get his sweatpants, to get his shoes, to get his hat. Like,
Honest? You want my honest opinion?
no, I want you to lie.
Okay, here's the lie. No, truth, I just like the seek out thing. So you could tell me when
You're a collector.
I'm not a collector because I'm going to give it away. I'll give the shirt away on the show. But I remember when Sean was growing up, they had these little action figures. And I don't know if you remember this. Was it the Turtles or whatever?
I have no idea.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Is that the one that had the girl? There was also a girl involved?
April O'Neil.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. When
The
we
reporter.
drove to Philadelphia, we literally stopped at Toys R Us between here and Philadelphia en route on the interstate just because of the fun of the seek out to find. Like, I really give a crap about the little figure.
You obviously do.
No, I don't. It's just fun to do.
You should go geocaching or something like that. That sounds like something.
Use your powers for good. But here's why this one stands out is because here you guys are. You cover this sport. You're journalistic. I use it loosely. Like,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You shouldn't care about the merchandise that guys have coming out. Why?
No, I disagree with that.
Shirt. I know why. Why do you care? Is like I said, I don't see reporters who cover the NBA sprinting out to get LeBron shoes.
No, I didn't sprint anywhere.
I don't see.
I can't sprint.
Or going online. I don't see any, like I said, boxing media when Manny Pacquiao signed his Nike deal, which was a big deal because boxers don't have those big things. No one was rushing out to get Manny's shoes.
Nobody.
Media wise,
Really?
If they were doing it on the low and not like broadcasting it out. I don't know. I found that very interesting.
It's a collector's item now.
I guess.
What's that?
I guess.
No, but it's over because they're all sold out.
And then they'll be released, and they'll slow
Which
play
they
them
should
in.
be. Which they. I can't believe that you would let any company would let a product like that run out.
That's the point. That's what they do.
Why?
They do that to drive the interest.
Because now people are talking about it, and then they'll release a little bit later, and people will look for
Well,
it.
then it drives the price on their next one that comes out too. I mean, this is
because
all.
these shoes really the price that they have them at are 105.
Which is exactly what any other company.
They're $10.
They're $10
They're
more.
still $10 is $10, and when you're spending $2 to make shoes.
But when they go and they see the demand going for them, the Jones Bones 2s that come out can be $130 because they realize that they went for $400 on the secondary market. It's just like anything else. Why? It's like having a concert. Why not hold a concert in a venue where everybody can get tickets? Well, you don't do that because that way you can keep the price up and you sell out and you draw an interest.
There was a pair I did see that they made these special edition shoes for Tim Tebow when he was coming out of Florida. 500 shoes gone like this, and they said, we're not making any more.
Until they make them again.
But it's been
Sure.
4 years now.
Yeah,
Haven't done
until they
anything.
make them again.
This just in. The
we'll
Charles
see.
Barkley shoes sold out in 4 minutes as well.
Yeah, I mean, these things go. I mean, you look at a guy like Jordan, they re-released his Jordans. And
They
you
go
got to
like once a month.
You
now.
have to think he's laughing like, wait, they're buying them again?
Yeah, right.
The same thing again?
Right.
So, I mean, I found that funny that you guys were getting all geeked up over.
Again,
It's just a fighter, and it's just gear.
And it has nothing to do with it. It's a fighter. It could be anybody else. If it's a limited edition, I just enjoy, the search. If these were at the store, at the mall across the street, I wouldn't have gone and gotten them. But I like the competition per se. How's that? Is that better? The competition of getting it?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess. I just
not from eBay.
I just don't. I don't understand it from a media side. Like why being excited
I would
about
say just because
somebody you cover.
This is the first.
But it's
After this, it loses it. But it's
see,
the first.
I don't agree with that. I always feel like there's always like that caveat. Like I always feel like media members who do this stuff are like, well, I wouldn't do it for everybody, but it's this guy, and then they make that little out, and there's always an out. Like there should just be a line in the sand. Okay, cool. He has a shirt. He has shoes.
Just
Awesome.
cool. It's unique. It's cool. It's one of a kind. It's the first.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree.
Shocking.
See, Anderson has a deal. But
Yeah.
you can't find any of that stuff. So I'm curious if they were to come out now saying, okay, look at how the Jones stuff did. Let's see how the Anderson stuff does. And then go from there.
Yeah.
But Anderson, I mean, they had all those. Dos Santos had a shirt too.
Yeah. And I think that's more regionally.
Slowly. But these shirts have been, I would say, marketed for 8 months now. People have seen them, but you just couldn't find any place to buy them. And now they drop it before his biggest fight.
That's what they do. That's what they did with Manny Pacquiao. Manny's stuff came out right around the time of the 24/7s where he was wearing all the stuff that people couldn't get. They'd do about 2 24/7s before they'd be in champs, and then they'd go for the fight, and then they'd be off the shelves.
Little side note, just got a text from Gilbert Melendez because we just tried to call him about 10 minutes ago. He's ready now. I asked if we can push it back a little bit because the count's due to call in about 4 minutes. Just our luck. They'll both call at the same time.
Sure.
So we're going to try to get Gilbert back on towards the top of the hour, but Michael Bisping right around the corner. But I want to ask you this, and we'll ask Gilbert when he comes on. I know perception is 9/10 of the rule or the law. Will you have a problem with Wade Vieira judging the Gilbert Melendez fight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you think that he can't be truthful and honest, or because of perception?
Conception?
Hey, maybe he gets.
We're talking about DNA.
Hey, yo.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Both. How's that? Both. Perception and reality. I don't think he can. He can honestly judge a fight from a Gracie fighter. Yeah, I mean, what people, and you know how this goes, and the people who train and are around this, people are so madly dedicated and loyal to their gym, to their trainer. You know, like that way, I mean, they are schooled. You know, this master is the man, and this. So they're watching a fight from someone who has learned similar to them. I have a feeling their mind's going to be like, oh, he did that great.
Maybe because he's, and I was going to be prepared to disagree with everybody here, but I understand what you're saying in the fact that being a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu guy, he's looking for Jiu-Jitsu stuff. So, but wouldn't that be the case? Say he trains at a David Vieira Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Jiu-Jitsu means more to him than the other two.
And again, it comes back to that loyalty to the gym, not loyalty to the craft, not loyalty to Jiu-Jitsu, where I think that could be skewed. Period. Across the board, if he's just more school, if he's more trained in Jiu-Jitsu, but to actually come from a affiliated gym, I think that's a whole different deal.
Now, one of the things people have been calling for are retired UFCers, UFC fighters to become judges because they know what's going on inside the ring and they have the best idea as opposed to some boxing judge or maybe some judge who has a little bit more training in judging MMA. But wouldn't that be sort of the same situation depending on what their background was, who their gym was, who their training partners were, and their teammates were? If you want to make that distinction, doesn't that come into play in that situation as well?
Yeah. I mean, I and that's why when I read this story, I was really taken aback that how this could even get through the commission. I don't think someone can fairly judge a fight when that's going on. I don't. And what was his scorecard?
3-2 for Gilbert.
For Gilbert, okay. Yeah.
And I would understand if it was 5-0 Gilbert, but a lot of people, whether they're Gracie Jiu-Jitsu people or not, had it 3-2 Gilbert, and obviously everybody else that I know of had it 3-2 Henderson. I don't think anybody had 4-1 either way, even though I think both fighters think they won 4-1.
Mm-hmm. Here's what happens with people, and I've noticed this a lot watching fights with people and tweeting about it and just communicating. Here's what happens. People forget, and people forget that when you're judging a fight, you judge each round in a vacuum. So round 1 goes, you judge that round, throw it to the side. Round 2 is basically a brand new fight if you want to look at it.
It's supposed to be.
Here's what happens. Here's what I find out happens. All right, round 1 goes, everyone's into the fight mentally. They're watching it, okay? They go, okay, he definitely won the round. Round 2 comes, it's another close round, and let's say they give it to, I give Henderson round 1. Okay, they're into the fight. Round 2 happens, it's a close fight. They say, or close round, they give it to Henderson. Here's what happens round 3 if it's close again. They go, this is a close fight. I could give that round to Gilbert, and I could give the other one to Gilbert, and they start going back because each round is close, and you need to throw that out.
But the people I think you're talking about are fans. They're not the 3 judges that are sitting cage side.
Absolutely. Well, the judges at cage side, they can't go back.
Right.
They can't go back. But I'm saying that's the backlash that you get.
Sure.
The people on Twitter, the chat rooms, that is going back. That's how they judge a fight. I mean, that could have been a 4-1 fight. A lot of people gave Gilbert that first round.
I did.
I gave it to Henderson. Landed about 20 leg kicks. Again,
Sure.
And I'm not saying like, oh, he dominated that round, but you could take that now, put it away, and bank it. Now I give Henderson round 2 as well. In a close fight, to say a guy's up 2 rounds, you think he's dominating, but
right.
It's what people don't understand about judging.
And that's why I've always had a problem with when people say, whether it's the media, whether it's fans, whether it's whoever, let me go back and rewatch it. Well, no, you can't.
Right.
If you're going to talk about who won that fight, you're watching it as it happens. Anybody can go back and rewatch it. It's in the moment, so it really doesn't matter about going back and rewatching.
And your view's skewed because you already know you're looking out for if someone won 3 rounds to 2. Now in your mind you're saying, I'm looking to give him 3 rounds. I'm looking to give him 2. Right. You're right. You can't do that. It has to be in the moment. And I would not challenge, but I would say to everyone at home, when they're watching these fights, when you're watching it, write it down, and you can't go back. Put it aside. Round 1, put that card aside. It's done. Then come back.
The other thing that I'd throw out as a judge in the state of Florida, watch the entire 5 minutes. Because I'll even see some media people on Media Row where they'll turn and talk to somebody, and then they'll look back. They'll go down and type and do a story, and then they'll look back, and then they'll say, Gilbert won round 2.
It's lazy.
You didn't watch it.
Right.
It's not that it's lazy. It's you have to watch from the first ding-ding to the last ding-ding.
You missed 30 seconds at the end of the round to tweet someone won the round.
Right.
And it wasn't over. And that's the thing that gets me. Like, a lot of people on scorecards sometimes, they say, 4 rounds to 1. And it was a very close fight. So they just hear 4-1 and they think it was dominated. You can have a razor close fight that goes 4 rounds to 1. You don't start giving guys rounds just like, just to make it closer on the scorecards.
Right.
I mean, it happened on the Showtime fight, on Canelo Alvarez fight. They had open scoring, which is brutal, a boxing match, and one judge had Alvarez way out ahead. There were a lot of close rounds. So he doesn't have to even it up because it's a close fight. Won the round, put it away. And I think that's what always drives me nuts about, the Twitter reaction of people. I had it 3-2. Did you really? Or did you call it 3-2 because it was a close fight and now you kind of go back and giving it to somebody?
What did everybody in the studio give it?
Now I can't remember. I want to say 4-1 Henderson because
really?
I was one of the few who gave Henderson the first round because I thought the leg kicks.
All right, well, that was last week, and we've been talking about it. We've been getting ready for it. Big fights this weekend.
Yeah.
No more bigger. Main event, co-main event. And on the phone with us right now, and I'm excited about this one, the Count, Michael Bisping. Mike, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Talk to us about this dislike for Alan Belcher. Where did it come from? Where did it start?
Well, do you know what? I don't really have a dislike for Alan Belcher. I mean, we're professional fighters and we're going to fight on Saturday night. So normally, it's quite normal for me to somewhat start to have a grudge against him, so to speak. But Alan Belcher's been calling me out for 5 years. So, he's been calling me out for 5 years, and he's had lots of nasty things to say about me, and obviously I don't take too kindly to that. So he's been saying that I was disrespecting him by not taking the fight with him for so long. Fact of the matter is I was, fighting legends and champions in main events all over the world. And, unfortunately, my last fight didn't go to plan, so now we're going to meet. He finally gets his own way. He's been a bothersome fly buzzing around me for the last 5 years, and now I get to swat him. But I'll give him a nice kick in the head while I'm at it.
Now, Michael, who hasn't called you out in the last 5 years? It seems like if there's a fight in your division, post-fight, Joe Rogan's in there, who do you want next? It's well, I want Michael Bisping. What is it? What is it about you that people keep calling out? Is it because they think you're beatable? Is it because they know you'll sell the fight? What do you think it is?
I think it's a bunch of different reasons. I mean, yeah, obviously they probably think they can win the fight. They think it'll be a marketable fight. I mean, people know who I am. I mean, I was a contestant on The Ultimate Fighter years ago, and then I've coached 2 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, and since then I've been involved in a lot of high-profile fights. So, I'm not saying I'm this famous guy or anything, but I've certainly been around the UFC for a long, long time. And some of these fighters that maybe haven't been there as long, you want to get a bit of name recognition, maybe get some bigger paydays. You think by beating and fighting somebody like me, it can be a shortcut to bigger paydays, So maybe that's something to do with it. And maybe they just don't like me as well, I mean, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I say what's on my mind, I'm certainly real. And I'm a polarizing figure in some ways, So I never understood that, to be honest. I'm a pretty nice guy, I like to think. But, maybe some of them just don't like me and want to punch me in the face. Maybe it's that.
And I promise we're going to talk about the Alan Belcher fight on Saturday, but I kind of want to take what you just said and ask you this. I've been around you. I think you're one of the nicest guys I've met at the UFC. Why do the fans have a different, look of you?
Well, thank you very much, first off. Listen, over the years, I've definitely done some things that I regret. I'm 34 now. I've been with the company. I think this is my 8th year with the UFC. So, have I done things I regret and wish I'd never said and things like that? Yeah, of course I have, I was a young man. I'm a human being that makes mistakes. I try not to make the same mistake twice. On top of that, obviously, for the most part, my career with the UFC, my fights have been in the US. Now, if an American comes over to England and fights me in London, they're going to get booed. If I come over to America and fight an American on their turf, I expect to get booed, and rightly so, of course, and I applaud that. I applaud, cheer for your countrymen, of course, So sometimes I'm going to be the bad guy, and yeah, maybe I play up to that heel role a little bit and give them something to boo about, I mean, if you're going to boo me, I'll give you something to boo about, because ultimately all I really care about is my family, my kids, and putting on a great fight and bringing home the bacon, for one of the better expressions. So, if a bunch of people that I've never heard of are going to boo me, I couldn't really care less.
Well, I'm going to try to change some of those people that boo you, that don't know some of the things about Michael Bisping. Back a handful of years, you're just out of The Ultimate Fighter. This radio program is now heard on many networks, including MMA Weekly. I went up to you and I said, Michael, I'm doing a charity. We're raising money for the widow of Ryan Bennett, who was the owner of MMA Weekly. And I know that you didn't even know who Ryan Bennett was, and you donated those first gloves from your first UFC fight that we auctioned off and sent the money to the widow of Ryan Bennett. So I wanted to say that to you publicly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I wasn't aware of that. So, yeah. Well, I always do that on my Twitter account, at Bisping. I'll get the plug in. A lot of people are always asking, for donated things for charity and this and that. And listen, I try and help, it still blows my mind that anybody would want to sell anything that, that I've had. But, if people can get a few dollars for things and it can go towards a good cause, then absolutely, I'll give anything. It's just a T-shirt or a signature or a picture. Yeah, it's nothing to me, is it? And if somebody can turn that into something good, then, I'm all for it.
Don't ruin this for me, Michael. I like the heel Michael. I like the Michael talking trash. You got that
listen, there's plenty of that. Don't worry about it. There's plenty of trash talking Bisping left in it. Don't you worry.
Now, usually you're the main guy. Like when you're on a card, you're the main trash talker. You're the go-to guy for for the quotes in the press conferences. You're on a card now with Chael. Your trash talking has kind of been overshadowed by his. Are you used to this role? Do you like this?
Well, listen, if there's a master at talking trash and stealing headlines, it's got to be Chael Sonnen. So, I'm in good company, and I don't really look at it as a competition, and I don't think Chael does either. I'm just doing my thing. I'm saying what's on my mind. So, but Chael's a colourful personality, and he's done him wonders. So, good for him. He's got a great fight against John Jones on Saturday night. That's a hell of a fight. I'm really excited for that one. As soon as I finish my fight, I'll definitely be running to cage side and watching that one up close and personal for sure. But, yeah, Chael's a great talker, and he sells the fight. He generates interest.
Michael, let me ask you this, since we just brought up Chael, and we had a lot of people tweet us to ask you this question. When you win on Saturday, and if Chael wins on Saturday, people want to know if you'll get that rematch and beat Chael for the second time.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I would love a rematch against everybody that has a victory over me. The two ones that I really would like to fight again is obviously Dan Henderson and Vitor Belfort, both guys that were on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, and guys, the only two guys to stop me. So obviously I want to fight those again. Yes, there was a very controversial, questionable decision that Chael holds over me, and, we had a good fight. I took that fight on 8 days' notice. I just thought I'd get that in there. Yeah, of course, I'd love to throw down with him again sometime. These days, me and Chael are quite friendly. We're both analysts on Fuel TV sometimes together. So, Chael's a great guy. Outside of the octagon, when he's not trying to smash his skull in, he's one of the nicest guys you'd ever like to meet.
And we're on the phone, on the line, all that fun stuff. On the air with Michael Bisping, who fights this weekend, Saturday night, against Alan Belcher. You brought up the TRT thing, and I don't want to harp too much on it. But when you had those fights, Dana really he didn't come out against TRT. I think he was more quiet than anything.
Yeah.
You were pretty outspoken about it, shockingly. But and since then, since your Vitor fight, he's really kind of come around and come to the forefront against testing, about saying, if you're using this TRT, you're cheating. How much of that was you and Dana's ear kind of explaining it to him, or did you even have to? Did he come out and say it, and you were like, it's about time, Dana?
No, it had nothing to do with me. Obviously, Dana's my boss, and he has been for a long time, and we have a relationship, and he's a great guy, but he's a busy man. He flies all over the world, and he runs a huge company. So, it's fair to say that I'm not on the phone to him every day, telling him how to run his company and telling him, my thoughts on TRT and getting him to change his policies. I think, yeah, you're right. He does seem to have had a change of heart, and I'm glad to hear that. Listen, if somebody has got a medical condition, I'm all for them getting the correct treatment. But I think a lot of the times people, that are taking TRT, they do have a history of using steroids in the past. And, having low testosterone is a side effect of using performance-enhancing drugs. So I think by allowing them to take TRT is allowing them to manipulate the system and being allowed compensation for their past discretions, so to speak. So, I'm against it. And, it sounds like Dana's against it now as well. All the guys that I fought on TRT, I had no idea they were on it beforehand, so it's a little disappointing afterwards to find out, because, we're all human beings, and, the training for the fights are hard, and, every day my body hurts, and it hurts like hell, but you gotta get out of bed, you gotta go do it all over again. But if you're taking testosterone injections, from what I hear, apparently your recovery time is fantastic, and you don't really feel beat up the next day when you got to go do it all over again. And, that's not a level playing field. There's a good reason why steroids are banned, and some people are being allowed to take it.
We're on the phone with Michael the Count Bisping. Fights this Saturday night on pay-per-view against Alan Belcher. And let's talk about this fight. I mean, we talked, we touched upon, the disdain, and he's kind of been calling you out for 5 years. You've come out. You've had some great quotes about this is going to be an easy fight for you. I mean, where do you see this fight ending? Is there one place in particular standing up on the ground where you really think that you have the advantage over Alan?
I'll be honest. I think I've got the advantage in all areas. I I think if you were to pick the strongest part of the game, from what I see on the internet, he has some slick jiu-jitsu moves. But it's one thing to do them on an instructional DVD. It's another thing to do them when you've got a man your own size and strength who's trying to beat you and not being a grappling dummy, so to speak. When I've seen him fight, I haven't seen him throwing out, all these crazy submissions. I haven't seen him reversing positions, sweeping people. I've just seen him on his back, really getting punched and elbowed repeatedly. As far as the stand-up goes, he has some decent kicks, but they're not the fastest. You can see them coming. His boxing, is limited. I think if you put him on his back foot, he kind of falls apart and is easy to hit. His wrestling game is weak. His wrestling's weak. he's a big, strong, athletic guy. So, I'm expecting him to be strong. I'm expecting him to be in shape. And I'm expecting him to come hard and fast, and try and give me some problems. I never underestimate. I've trained accordingly, but I believe I am the better fighter. And not just physically, mentally. I think my big strength over Alan is my mentality. I think I've got him beat already, and I think he already knows it.
Michael, let me ask you this. Has the being the analyst on Fox helped your fight game, or has your fight game helped the job of being an analyst on Fox?
Oh, well, definitely the latter. Definitely being a fighter helps the job as an analyst. Yeah, for sure. That's the reason I'm there, because I'm a fighter and I've got that insight. I know how fighters' brains work. I know about the training. I know about the opponents. I can break down fights, etc. But I see the point you're making. Thinking about fights and engaging your brain, because it is a very tactical sport. That can be beneficial. It's kind of like when you're coaching sometimes. If you're teaching people, how to do jiu-jitsu, for example, the finer details of the move do get drilled home, and you can make you a better fighter or a better jiu-jitsu practitioner. So I see what you're saying.
Mike, let me ask you this. You mentioned when you fight in England, obviously you get a lot of cheers, and when you fight here, you get some boos. Which one do you like better?
Well, to be honest, listen, let's be honest. Everybody wants to be cheered. Everybody wants to walk into an arena of 20,000 people and everybody go crazy and applaud, and, women screaming and crying, because you're so amazing. Of course, everybody wants that, but really, ultimately, I don't really notice them. It's after the fight, I'll say to my corner, I'll say, like, I think I heard a few cheers there. And they're like, oh, yeah, the crowd weren't bad. I'm like, right, oh, okay, cool. I don't really pay too much attention to it. I'll just say, yeah, it'd be lovely if I went out there and everybody cheered. But if they do, all the same, as long as the crowd are into it and they show a reaction and some energy, that's what I like, whether it's a big boo or a big cheer. And, fortunately, I get that. A lot of people do cheer and a lot of people do boo, so in my book, it's all good.
Better than having people sit on their hands.
Yeah, not do nothing. I remember.
Yeah, I hate that. They just clap politely like they're at a bloody golf match. That's my biggest fear.
I remember a fight in Vegas, and you were walking down to come to your seats, and huge boos are going out, and everybody's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And as Michael Bisping gets booed, he stops and takes a picture with a bunch of Marines. That then became the largest cheer that I've ever heard. That went from
oh, really? Oh, nice. Yeah, well, listen, I think a lot of it's pantomime. When I meet people out here, I live in Orange County, California. I know my day-to-day experiences are awesome. Everybody has kind things to say. They want pictures and this and that, and obviously I stop and give them the due time. But when you get 20,000 people together, and as I say, I'm the out-of-towner and I'm fighting the hometown boy. Of course they're going to cheer. They're going to boo and whatever, And as I said before, I applaud that.
Yeah, we're on the phone with Michael Bisping, who fights this Saturday night
on pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view against Alan Belcher. You brought up a point before, and you said it, and I kind of had to do a little bit of a double take. I mean, you're almost 10 years in the UFC, which is hard to believe. You're still a young man. You're still fighting at such a high level. But as far as this game has come, this MMA game in UFC is grown. What's been the biggest difference that you've noticed since you've joined the UFC?
That's a good
Besides
question.
The payday.
The biggest difference that I've noticed. I mean, these days now, people train mixed martial arts. I started off doing jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, and a lot of people come from a wrestling background or a kickboxing background or whatever. These days now, the new breed of fighters, like your John Jones, like your Rory McDonald, people like that, they're mixed martial artists, and they'll go to a gym, as a kid or as a 16-year-old or whatever, and they'll start training in mixed martial arts. So the level of talent, is getting better and better all the time. And 10, 15 years from now, the talent level of the fighters is just going to be incredible.
That's awesome. And do you ever get, guys coming up to you, some of the younger guys, and kind of picking your brain a little, just from everything from training to, how to handle going into a big fight? Have you become a soundboard?
Yeah, sometimes I do, and I'm happy to give advice, I'm 34 now, so I've got a lot of experience in this game, and, a lot of experience to offer in terms of training, scheduling, management, or sponsorship opportunities, things like that. So yeah, I'm a bit of an old dog in some respects in that respect. I'm always happy to give back, and when I'm done fighting, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to train and manage fighters and hand out some of my experience that I've gained. But that ain't going to be for a long, long time. I've still got many more years to fight. And talking of fights, April 27th, this Saturday, live on pay-per-view, I fight again, and I'm going to kick some ass, believe you me.
Michael, before we let you go, we're going to ask you to put your analyst hat back on. And Chael said that he's not going to be able to watch your fight, but you will be able to watch his fight when your fight is over. Break down the Jon Jones-Chael fight for us.
Well, obviously, Jon Jones is the champion, and he's been a very dominant champion since he's had the belt, beating guys like Shogun, Rampage, Machida. He's got great takedowns. He's got a diverse striking game. The big thing going in Jon's favour, he's got an 84.5-inch reach, and that gives a lot of people a lot of problems, and that's why he's been so successful. But to think that Chael Sonnen hasn't got a chance in this fight would be just a stupid point of view. This is an aggressive fighter. He's a very decorated wrestler. His wrestling has crossed over into the MMA world very, very well. He's probably got some of the best takedowns in the whole of MMA. And the one thing to do against a tall fighter with a long reach is close the distance. And if you're wrestling, you want to take someone down, you've got to close the distance. So that's one thing that he's very, very good at. So expect Chael to come out, hard and fast and strong right from the opening bell. He will get Jon Jones down. We'll see what Jon is like off his back. I think if you were a betting man, you'd have to lean towards Jon Jones because, as I said, he has been the champ for so long. But I think Chael is definitely going to make it interesting on the night.
I definitely think Michael Bisping has a future after he's done fighting, that's for sure. Mike, before we let you go, please plug any sponsors, all the people that make you and your family's life a little bit easier.
No, thank you very much. Well, first, I just want to thank everybody that tunes in and watches the UFC. If it weren't for those guys, I wouldn't have a job. And MMA Elite, they're my main guys. They really look after me. MMA Elite and Pro Elite, they're like a family, and they sponsor myself as well as many, many other fighters, and they really do take great care of us. And then there's Muscle Farm, Alienware, and a bunch of other guys. Paradigm Sports Management, thanks to those guys. My girlfriend who puts up with my mood swings when I'm hungry, my 3 kids, and everyone else that's helped me throughout my career. I really do thank you all.
Tell me something real quick about Alden that we may not know at MMA Elite.
Oh, something about Alden. Oh, I don't know. Do you know, I haven't got too much dirt on him, unfortunately. When I do have some dirt on Alden, I'll let you know. But the guy's just a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? I think I might be struggling to find some, but when I get some, I'll let you know.
He is an awesome guy. Mike, thank you very much for your time.
He really is. Listen, I've been involved in this sport a long time, and I've been sponsored by many people, but Alden really, as I say, kind of feels like a family. He's really there to support the fighters in any way he can. So, the guy's the best.
He definitely is a super guy. Thank you for your time. Best of luck on Saturday, and I'll see you at the press conference after.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck.
Michael Bisping, big fight against Alan Belcher. A lot bigger for Alan Belcher than it is Michael Bisping. That being said, very important, and this gets him right back in the mix.
Well, it's funny because he is that guy. He is that guy that people call out. And I that's why I had to ask him about it, because there has to be a point with him where he's like rolling his eyes. He's like, okay, another one?
Here we go again.
Another one? Another one was. And he brings up a great point. Look at the fights he's lost.
I did. I'm looking at him.
Look at the fights he's lost.
The names.
Yeah, well, not only the names, but the circumstances. Chael Sonnen, he lost a very close fight. Some people thought,
I thought he won.
Right.
But he lost, but it doesn't matter what I thought.
Right, exactly.
He got screwed.
It was a very close fight, but he lost it. He took it on 8 days' notice. He loses the Vitor.
He didn't hold on a second, and I like Michael Bisping. He took the Chael fight on 8 days' notice.
That's what I said.
He was fighting anyway. He was on that card anyway.
It's a difference.
It is
a change of an opponent.
No, it is.
Different.
No, it
You're
is.
right. He didn't get off the couch
and
say, "Oh shit, that's fight next Sunday."
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely in a change, and when you're talking about Chael, it's a major change.
And especially when you're talking at that level, of fighter. When you're that high up on the card and you're changing, it's not like a downgrade of opponent. He loses to Vitor. And there, all the controversy, really, that sparked the TRT. And I remember watching that fight, and Vitor got in the ring. I was just laughing. I was like, this is a joke, right? Like, you can't tell me that he was just, hitting the weights and doing cardio. And then who was the other loss? Henderson, another TRT guy.
Right.
And he got obviously that brilliant knockout for Henderson's career. But if
his only other loss that you didn't mention was Rashad.
Yeah. But I mean, you look again, the TRT thing. I think that's going to be in 3 years, let's say, when they're really
I've always been against
for I know, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, when it really the efforts are made to regulate it, we're going to look back and say, oh, Jesus Christ, he lost to guys who if that fight happened today, wouldn't even happen. So and he's a hell of a fighter, and I'm looking forward to this Belcher fight because Belcher needs a win in a big way. So it's it's funny you talk to Bisping. What a nice guy.
Well, and I was almost afraid to
shocked. Not that I'm shocked.
I was almost afraid to go that way because he plays that heel so well.
Yeah.
You wrestling fans, But like I said, I know a lot of these things that he's done. The thing about Ryan Bennett and the gloves, like I said, he didn't even know who Ryan Bennett was.
Mm-hmm.
This is his first fight in the UFC, and he, without a doubt, without a question, here you go, no problem, no issues. So he has done a lot of cool stuff. He is a good guy, but he plays that role.
I think Sean hit it on the head, in the opening of the show. He's English.
Yeah.
And you throw you throw your mic work?
Yeah,
you
we're
pay your
good
bill?
now. I didn't.
But
I didn't pay rent,
it's a foreigner talking trash, and people immediately gets rubbed the wrong way. He's nothing but honest,
but Dana,
and I think people don't like that.
But Dana has always said, and a lot of people have always said, that's what this sport doesn't do, even though it does. It's not a country. It's not, they pick their favorite fighters, but
he can't even say that. He's the one who started England versus Australia and Tough, the two countries fighting, and now I heard Canada, Australia are going to be the next international one going against each other.
Yeah, so he definitely is. He knows.
How is it not country versus country?
Right. Well,
did they do a whole card? It was Brazil versus the U.S.
Yeah,
or Canada versus the U.S.
Yeah, and they know what they're getting into. But Bisping, I feel like he's nothing but honest, and he's always himself. Now, if you can adjust, then that's on you.
We'll talk more about this upcoming show on Saturday. We're going to step back for a minute and go back to the champ, the former champ, the Strikeforce champ. A good fight. We talked about it earlier.
Great
Gilbert
fight.
Melendez. Gilbert, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Excellent.
How tired are you of talking about this whole judging Wade Vieira thing?
I didn't really talk much about it, but yeah, man, it's pretty. Even the little bit I've talked about, it's pretty ridiculous, and I'm tired of it already. But yeah, what you got on it?
Well, I was just your opinion. I am a judge in the state of Florida, and Derek and I are going back and forth. And from my standpoint, I think somebody can go and judge a fight and rule everything out. Derek seems to disagree a little bit. As a fighter, sort of, kind of, in a way, involved in it, did you have and do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, I don't know Wade. I never met him. If I have, I don't know. Like, it's not in my phone book or nothing like that. I've said it, but it doesn't really matter that I lost, first of all, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I think it's great that these guys train, you know what I mean? And it's a little tough when it's the Gracie family. It's such a big franchise name, you know what I mean? And it's, if it was more like, the guy trained at El Nino Training Center, something a little more, I could see it having some conflict of interest. But I think it's good that these guys train. I don't know him, so it's, if I had a relationship with them, I could see people being it could be a conflict of interest, but I don't know, man. It's not up to me to decide at the end of the day.
So, Derek, I'm going to ask you a question. I normally don't do that while we have a celebrity guest on. But since I've trained at a Gracie Baja, does that
poorly?
Poorly, but I have. Does that mean that I can't judge a Gilbert fight?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think what you've done there is classified as training. Okay. So you go ahead and judge away.
Okay.
But Gilbert, you sent out a tweet the other day that was kind of your thoughts. That you watched the fight again. What did you see, just kind of a little more in depth, when you went back and watched the fight from Saturday night?
It was a very competitive fight. Benson did great. It was a good fight. I felt like definitely the most dominant round of all was the first round, and I believe I took that one. And I thought the fifth round as well, I believe I took that. And I was more aggressive there, and I felt like I pushed the pace more. And he was on his. I think that was the second most decisive round. And the second and third, I really believe I won the second as well. And I could see how people can. I know it was a very competitive round, but I still think I did enough to win it. Just being more aggressive. And as well as in the third, I really truly believe I thought I won the third, but I could see it's close, and I know he went for a takedown, and he ended up on top at the end, and but I landed some of my best right hands there. The fourth round was also a competitive round, but I admit I was on the defense that round, trying to save energy for the fifth, and I give him that round too. But it's a competitive fight, and just from my perspective, the way I judge fighting and the style I like. I think I won the fight. I understand other perspectives and his style of fighting, and maybe people that like that finesse or something to stick and move more. They maybe think he won the fight. But I truly believe I thought I won that fight.
Gilbert, let me ask you this. A lot of times people are like the first time in the UFC cage. You've had many fights, I believe almost 10 in the Strikeforce organization. Was it any different? Did you feel any different fighting for that quote-unquote UFC?
I felt good. No, I feel like I embraced it, man. It was great. The fans were amazing. The weigh-ins are amazing. All that stuff is cool. I did good at that. The cage, just on the real, the cage is a little bigger, so not so much a mental thing, but just dealing with the bigger cage. I used it to my advantage, but it was also a little bit difficult to deal with a guy who's really good at moving, and so that was a little difficult to deal with. And the fact that maybe not so much the UFC gave, just him having the UFC title, I kind of felt like I gave the champ a lot of respect in there. And those are the two things, but no jitters, no nervousness, just the size of the cage and, giving the champ a little too much respect. I think, that's what the UFC kind of brought to it. That was different.
We're on the phone with Gilbert Melendez, who was in a razor close decision loss last Saturday night, UFC on Fox against Benson Henderson. Did Benson... Did he show you anything once you got in the cage with him that surprised you? I know your teammates have, you obviously had a great training camp and you knew guys and trained with guys who had fought him before, but did he show any wrinkles in his game that maybe caught you off guard?
He was he's a super athlete, and I expected that, you know what I mean? But he had some great kicks, but I also expected that, and I expected him to, bounce in and land some punches, and I did my best to counter the punches and block the kicks, and I feel like I don't feel like I never felt like I was ever in any danger, you know what I mean? I never felt like there was any anxiety or him running away with the fight or putting it on me, and you know what I mean? But I've learned a lot from the experience. I know next time I fight him, I do a lot of things differently in there. Different situations.
Like, for example, what would be a couple things you would do?
I want to give up my game plan, but I've gained confidence in the wrestling and grappling department. I didn't think I shot too much. I really didn't want to engage too much in the ground. I thought like he might have an advantage there, but I think I know now that I feel a little more confident in those positions. In the clinch, I felt really strong there. I was attempted to re-clinch him, and I don't want to get too in depth because I'm going to fight the guy again, but I know exactly what I would do and how I can get him and I could finish him, or not finish him, but I can get my hands on him and fight him a little bit better, But at the time, I had my game plan, I stuck to it, and I thought it was enough.
Speaking of fighting him again, this happens to be the division of rematches. Why not an automatic rematch? Because it was so close, and I guess you've been told and the media's been told it's not going to happen. What did Dana say to you?
Well, afterwards, I was just a little heartbroken there, and they ask you about it, and I can't ask for a rematch until I watch the fight myself and feel how it is. But he just said, he's like, we don't know yet what's going on, and at the end of the press conference, he threw in we have the match, T.J. Grant versus Gray Maynard, and I'm not like super bummed about it. I gave everyone I gave them a reason to doubt me winning. I gave it a reason, and I wish I was a little more dominant in everything, so there could have been a reason for the win, But if they gave me a rematch, dude, I would take it. You know what I mean? I would take it in a heartbeat. But whether it happens or not, it's not up to me.
With it only being a couple days, you probably not even thought about it. But if you have, who would you like next, to get back up to the title shot?
There's a lot of good guys. Whoever's hot right now. Whoever's the hot dude who's close to getting that title shot, I'll take it. If it's Cowboy Cerrone, is it the loser between Aldo and Pettis? Is it Jim Miller if he wins Pat Healy? The winner between Pat Healy, is it Joe Lazon? Diego Sanchez? Who is it? You let me know, and whoever can get me quicker to the top. But it'd be fun to tangle up with all these guys. It's all these people are new faces for me. I just don't want to fight Josh Thompson and Jorge Masvidal. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And that's where we were going.
That was my next question. Was what if they line you back up with Josh Thompson again?
No, I mean, come on, dude. Josh did great. You know what I mean? That was my boy right there, and I'm sad, but he did great, and I'm sure he wants to fight someone else too, and so does Jorge. You know, and right now those guys are going to prove that they're legit. You know.
Now we're on the phone with Gilbert Melendez, and certainly understand, with all these new faces, let's fight some of these new faces. And Dana had mentioned, leading up to your fight, that when things were happening with Strikeforce and they were trying to figure it out and bringing guys over, that you guys were in constant, communication just about the situation. And he talked to you a lot about, being patient and what your deal was if they were going to bring you over. Can you talk to us a little about those conversations and what did Dana, say to you that, really kind of keep you calm, that knew that where you would know that this was going to work out and you were going to come over to the UFC?
Dana would check up on me, hey man, this is the situation, and which I really appreciated. And but I'm also like I want to be a great employee as well. I want life in this sport inside the cage, but also more so after when I retire as well. And this is a company. It's a great company that I'd like to be a part of. And you want to do your time. I haven't been doing my time in the UFC, but I was able to do it these last 2 years under the the same owners of Zuffa, Forza, in Strikeforce. And I held my role there and do what I had to do. And you know what I mean. And they made me main events. I got paid great money. I thought I got some really good challengers. That last one was hard to get up for, but fighting Jorge and Kawajiri and Aoki was great.
How frustrating of a situation was that for you when, and just I guess how you hear rumors about Strikeforce is the I don't know, the camaraderie or just the attitude about people on the card was down. How tough was that locker room and how frustrating for you was it just being a fighter and knowing that, well, is Strikeforce going away? Are guys going to UFC, kind of not knowing where you stand? And mentally, how tough was that for you to prepare for your fights?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster ride. Just the motivation factor. I know it's my business and I need to get up and I need to go train and I need to do it. I would train twice a day, but it's a little harder to push on the run. It's a little harder to want to spar and dig deeper. Knowing that there's really not much to gain, and you kind of reinvent yourself and kind of focus on my business, my gym, my family, and just other little goals, because I can, but as soon as the UFC comes back and you refocus yourself, but yeah, man, it was a little tough, but again, those conversations with Dana, he gave me some hope here and there, and he gave me what I needed to hear, you know what I mean, I think he let me know he was very happy for me to be here as well in the UFC, and I think I put on a show, and hopefully I have a great relationship from here on out with the UFC.
We are talking to Gilbert Melendez. Final couple questions for you. We had a Twitter question asking about after a fight, win or lose, close fight, whatever. How do you then turn that off, turn that emotion off, and then go to an after party?
You know what, man? It's like I've lost, and I felt horrible after. When I fought Josh Thompson the first time. Not that he beat me, but that I didn't prepare, and I didn't do all I can do for my fight. And, and I did all I can do, for this training camp, and I really felt good with myself. Regardless of the outcome, I'd be okay. Just knowing I did my job and I earned my paycheck and I did everything good. And, and then you just go out there and fight, and it's actually a pretty, freedom, clear-headed feeling going into the fight, knowing that you did all you can do, and I did all I can do, and it hurt the first 30 minutes, and then, after that, I got over it, and I want to go, celebrate life with all my friends, man. It's just, you only get one life. You kind of got to move on, Yeah,
absolutely. Give me your take on this weekend's card. Who do you like and why?
Man, I'm really interested with Pat Healy and Jim Miller, and I think that's a pretty dang even matchup right there. I'm excited to see that. Chael is awesome, dude. I love that dude. I like the way he talks. I like the way he fights. I like that he said I won the fight, and I think it takes balls for him to go up and fight John Jones. But John Jones is just is a phenom, man. He's I think pound for pound the best in the world right now, and going up a way to fight the pound for pound best guy is a tough task, But if anyone has the guts to do it, it's Chael.
That's for sure.
Tough task, suicide mission. But
Chael can do it.
Tough, yeah. If anyone can.
He's the bad guy from Portland or whatever. Gilbert, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for always tweeting the fans and being as involved as you are on Twitter. I know how much you enjoy doing that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It was actually great being on the show with you guys, and let's do it again. And yeah, thanks for everything. Actually, shout out to all my teams: Scrap Packs, Caesar Gracie Fight Team, AllannaMMA.com, 1-800-Radiators, Kinder's Barbecue, Tap Out, Callie's Body Shop in Santa Ana. Thanks, guys.
There you have it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Gilbert Melendez, finally where he belongs in the UFC.
And I tell you what, I tweeted this out on Saturday night. I thought coming into the fight, and I think we kind of talked about it here, I thought he was going to get outclassed by Benson. I thought he was going to get worked over, to tell you the truth. I saw what Benson did to Nate Diaz. I thought, I'm a big believer, and so are you, Randy, and you need to prove it in the octagon. And then you throw in, he had some ring rust, just not fighting anywhere for a while. I thought Benson was going to have his way. I was really impressed with Gilbert, and more so than a lot of any of the bigger Strikeforce guys who've come over. I was thoroughly impressed. He didn't miss a beat. Well, and I thought he looked better than I remember him in Strikeforce.
Yeah, and he did look. He looked fantastic, and he was always one of those top two athletes until Eddie Alvarez lost, and then he was the only athlete that was the biggest name, the best athlete not in Zuffa, not in the UFC. And then, they bought Strikeforce, and then he still wasn't there. And, not that I'm right often, but I expected him to go in and put a good performance
you've
on.
always kind of said that he was the best one that you thought that wasn't in Zuffa before, they bought Strikeforce and all that. And I was more of the prove it,
Sure.
I wasn't a big believer. I am.
Still prove it.
He hung tooth and nail, obviously, with Benson. A lot of people thought he won the fight. I'm excited for every name that he was naming, minus Josh Thompson, because we have seen that 3 times,
and that won't happen.
But you start looking at those matchups, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that'd be fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back quick, because I feel like this loss, he did not lose stock. He didn't lose a lot of stock.
And when we come back, because I know we're at it, and we got to hit it. I want to talk about it, and I know how much you like the pound for pound, and I know how much you like the top 10, the round for round stuff. I want to talk to you about that, about Gilbert Melendez. And where do you move him? Because I put him, I took care of my job. I did what I had to do on Sunday. And we'll talk about that. We also have Josh Samman coming up. We also have Allanna Jones coming up. And then, of course, to clarify last week, Jovan Haye will be on later on in the program. We'll be right back. Really do want to apologize. First hour totally sucked.
I would appreciate it.
If we can step it up.
If I'm hustling to get here, and I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm coming in 5 minutes late, have some relevant guests, please.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Don't let it happen again.
Book some relevant guests. That's all I'm asking you, okay?
I'll try to step it up just a
this
tad.
Bisping character, who's he?
A new guy.
Okay.
New guy. New on the scene.
Melendez?
It was his first fight in the UFC.
Right. First timer? Come on.
UFC debut.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It was his debut.
Great card on Saturday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
Holy cow.
It turns out that, at least to me, a lot of the free TV is getting a lot of good cards.
They are. And here's what I needed to vent about this, because I did it again on Twitter when I was watching it Saturday night. All right, the Muir fight sucked. Yeah, fight was it sucked. We all know this, okay? It was a crappy fight. The people in the crowd, they had been treated to that point to 9 knockouts.
Right.
A UFC, did it tie a record or was it a record?
Yeah, I don't know.
It either tied a record or was a record for most knockouts on a card. So they've seen 9 knockouts in however many fights. And a lot of those fights were, entertaining fights. That first round of the Muir fight, I think maybe in going into the second, they start booing. Like, come on, people. Like, how much more do you want? You're going to get a stinker in there. It happens, but you got 9 knockouts. The first sign of a little, cage, humping going on. And what do? They start booing. I was like, wow, MMA fans are the worst.
Well, all fans are like that.
All fans are terrible.
But no, you're
They're
right.
the worst.
MMA fans. And
the worst.
You know what the worst is? I'll top MMA fans. The worst was the press conference that I went to yesterday. All full for TNA that's coming to town.
Do tell.
It was brutal.
Shocking. Something that had Hulk Hogan's name on it
And
it wasn't up to par.
And they kind of did the Shield kind of thing with whatever their bad guys are.
Right. Aces and eights.
Yeah, and they all come storming in, and Cowhead had somebody there that was causing crap and got escorted out. And
escorted. They were talking today. He got hit in the face, and guy grabbed him by his face and pushed him out of there.
I didn't see that. I was standing literally right next to him. And when I kind of looked over, because the USF football coach was there, and Hogan and whoever this Magnus character is, and I looked to them, and the intern or whoever it was, they was just yelling stupid crap.
Right.
I heard him yell, "Don't touch me," and then Hogan or Jimmy Hart or somebody yelled, "Don't touch him! Don't touch him! Just get him out of here."
Wasn't one of them? Do you batter your own shrimp, Hogan?
Yeah. He asked if he battered his shrimp. He asked Willie Taggart if Willie had seen Hogan's porn.
Yeah.
That
was awful.
Yeah.
That tops the MMA fans booing.
No.
Well,
because that's stunty stuff that you expect. Listen, fans, give it every fight isn't going to be,
Sure.
a barn burner. And so you sit through them, and those guys are working, and go grab something to drink. Go take a leak if the fight sucks. But you had 9 knockouts.
Right.
It's not like it was a card full. It wasn't Calgary, for Christ's sake.
All right, here's the question that I want to ask you guys, really to the left side, of the studio, because Derek loves the round for round, pound for pound, and top 10. But in the case of a Gilbert Melendez, who was ranked 1 or 2, depending on what media person, whatever, how low do you personally, Derek, if you were doing this, do you lower Gilbert Melendez? And the question that I'm having is to you and to everybody else, and feel free to tweet us or call us or whatever, do you keep him above people that you think he would still beat? Or because he lost that fight, do you move him down in the case of TJ Grant and Campman, who the winner will fight?
Gray Maynard.
Gray Maynard. The winner will fight for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Do you move Melendez below those two now? I didn't, but I'd be curious what your opinion is.
Since it's set up like that, yeah. I mean, that if I had the vote, I would put him right behind the winner of that fight.
Well, but
I guess
can't do that yet.
So I guess you would have to sit him at 4. Is Grant and Maynard 2 and 3 now?
No. Gilbert is still ranked 1. Anthony Pettis is 2. Gray Maynard 3. Jim Miller 4. Cerrone 5. Nate Diaz 6. TJ Grant 7.
God, I love that division.
And
I love that
Josh
freaking
Thompson
division.
8.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I always thought Pettis was 1.
No.
That Pettis was 1 and Gilbert was 2.
But I mean, isn't Pettis fighting Aldo?
Yeah, but again, every media person looks at it differently.
Differently. See,
to me, I don't think that I have him ranked in the other yet until he fights in the other.
See, if he has it on the books, if that's where he's going to fight, then that's where I put him. And again, that's where you and I different.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
differ. I say, well, he's getting a title fight, so to me, if it's on paper, that makes him the number 1 contender. So I move him out of the 55 division and I put him in the 44 division.
And
45.
And I will say this.
45.
Yeah.
I believe
you're legal either way.
I believe I have Chael ranked in both.
I don't. No, you don't.
I don't have him up in light heavy at all. I have him number 2 in middleweight.
Yes.
And I think he is number 2, if not number 1.
Yeah.
The overall ranking,
because he hasn't fought in the light heavy yet.
I understand your theory and I understand your thinking, and I don't think it's wrong. I'm just saying if I had the vote and I was faced with that situation, that's how my mind would work. I would say that if there's already a fight on paper where Dana's saying the winner of this gets the title shot, then in my mind that's 2 and 3. And then I'll put Gilbert right behind them because I don't think he's far off.
But on the flip side, the rankings, according to Dana, don't make fights. So
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're looking at
So we're all pulling our picks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it
so
really
we're all
doesn't
doing
matter
it
what you're
anyway.
looking at anyway.
Right. And I just can't see lowering Gilbert below 2 guys that I think Gilbert would beat.
Yeah.
I look at it as the college football rankings. You lose, you drop. It doesn't matter. We still may think that this team could beat that team, but it doesn't matter.
You lose.
You
right.
lost.
You drop.
You lost.
You do drop some.
Yeah.
You definitely have to. Now, I don't. Does he fall off the face of the earth? No. Does he go? I mean, far back in line? No, I don't think so. And really, I think that those rematches in this division really kill Gilbert's chance of a rematch, an automatic rematch. Just because I feel like they want to spread it out. Why rush a rematch now? Now let's draw some interest.
No disrespect to Kelvin or Uriah Hall, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Cruz was on our program on Friday and said the guy to watch out of this season's Ultimate Fighter, on the line with us, not only this week and last week, every week there is a UFC. Josh Samman will be on. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. So who was it that said I'm the one to watch? Was it one of you guys?
It was some guy, you might have heard of him. His name's Dominic Cruz.
Oh, hell yeah, man! I'm a big fan of his, and he had some kind things to say, so I appreciated that. It was pretty cool to hear.
And obviously, he's a big fan of yours too, because he said you have a big ass target on your back because of how you performed.
I think I have a target on my back. Some of it may have been how I performed. Some have been maybe the way that I came across with some people. But I'm ready for them. Bring them all on. That's why I'm in the sport, man. To fight the best guys there are, and I'm in the UFC, and that's what I plan to do.
It just hit me. It just now hit me, guys. Chael and Michael Bisping getting up in age. They're going to finally go away.
They're going
to need a replacement. And that replacement is Josh Samman.
Who can carry the mic, that's for sure. But
it's a good company to keep. If I can be mentioned in the same breath as Chael and Michael Bisping, then I did something right, I think.
Dominic also was saying that this weekend's main event, if Chael can pull the win, would be one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. And since we have you on the line. Would you think this one's bigger, Josh, if Chael were to pull it off, or do you think the Uriah Hall loss from a couple weeks ago on Tough Enough, or on the Ultimate Fighter, was a bigger upset?
I wasn't surprised that Kelvin won. So I think that the bigger upset would be Chael beating John, if that indeed does happen. But even in that sense, I think there are certainly bigger upsets in the history of the UFC. Chael versus John would definitely be a big upset. But obviously, I think John is going to win. But Chael is just he's one of those guys where he does have ways to win, and he's just a big, strong, experienced guy. And I'm looking forward to the fight. And obviously, I think a lot of people are expecting John to blow Chael out of the water. I do think John's going to win, but I think it'll be a competitive match.
I don't care what fight happens between now and the rest of time, until the rest of eternity. No fight will be a bigger upset than Matt Serra beating GSP in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. That was the odds for that fight, if I remember correctly, when they first came out, were like 9-1, 10-1. It was one of the biggest mismatches in terms of betting odds, and it's certainly in title match history, let alone the UFC history. So that was a huge upset. I don't think it could get much bigger than that one.
We had Michael Bisping on earlier in the first hour.
Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah, another guy you might have heard of. He has Alan Belcher this week. An interesting fight. Definitely, Belcher needs a win. We think here Bisping, could. No one wants the loss, but. How do you see that fight going when you're breaking down those two fighters?
Belcher is a guy that's always kind of surprised me, man. And he, really, I've always been a fan, but when I really became a fan was when he fought Pajares, and Pajares was sitting there trying to rip his legs off, and Belcher was defending and actually attempted a couple leg locks of his own, if I remember correctly. So that was the moment that I gained a lot of respect for him. I think that a lot of people are expecting Michael Bisping to win, and rightfully so. Bisping is a great fighter, and he's fought the tougher guys and beat the tougher guys, I think. But that's a tough one to call. If I had to call it, I think Bisping would win. But I am a fan of both guys, and I'm looking forward to that fight too.
All right, we've talked about the main event. We've talked about the co-main event. A lot of good fights on the card. Is there one that kind of sticks out now that you're our professional analyst? Is there one that kind of you want the fans to make sure that they don't miss?
Yeah, I don't know. Throw some of the other fights out there. Refresh my memory, and I'll let you know which one. April has been a busy month for the UFC.
Well, we'll go all the way down to the Facebook, the main event on Facebook. Leonard Garcia, who always comes to fight against Cody McKenzie.
Man, that is an interesting fight as well. Leonard, obviously, he's one of those guys where the fans either love him or hate him. He has a lot of critics, and I think that if I had to call that fight, I think Cody wins it. I like Cody. I thought it was kind of cool the way that he came into the UFC. If I remember correctly, he was 11-0 at the time of his Ultimate Fighter debut, with 10 wins by guillotine. And that's just crazy to me. It's not often that you have a guy who just can make a career out of one single move. And so, you know, a lot of people thought that when he came in and he started fighting these tougher guys, that wouldn't be the case, that he wouldn't be able to be as successful as he was. And he's had mixed results, but if I remember correctly, he still won a couple fights by guillotine. One of them, who did he fight where he had the guy in freaking side control, or maybe even quarter guard, and he put him to sleep, if I remember correctly. That's you guys know what I'm talking about? Which fight that was?
I can't think of who he fought. I remember seeing how he pulled it off because they were talking about everything was his guillotine, everything, and he pulled it off from a crazy angle.
I forgot who he fought as well, but a guy took him down, and I think he took him down even into top side control, and Cody was on bottom, and the guy, obviously, you know, for people who follow jiu-jitsu, if you're in top and you're in top side control, or even in maybe like a quarter guard or half guard, it's kind of hard for the guy on bottom to pull off that guillotine. And not only did Cody pull it off, but he put the guy to sleep. So something about his bone structure and the way that he's built and the technique that he applies on these guys. You know, he has a really dangerous guillotine, and he puts guys to sleep with it. So that's cool. That'll be an exciting fight. That's a fun fight for the fans. I didn't realize that was actually happening this weekend, so I'll have to look out for that one as well.
I believe it was the Aaron Wilkinson fight, his first fight in the UFC.
That he pulled that off. What was on the main card on the pay-per-view, Sean? What
there is another one on the main event, and real quick, it's funny that you brought up bone structure because coming up after you, Allanna Jones is going to be on the program to talk about her upcoming fight against Fallon Fox.
Oh wow, yeah, and CFA. See, I live here in Florida, and so where I trained on MMA Masters at down in Miami, George, the promoter for CFA, he comes into the gym sometimes and scouts the guys out, and I love going to those shows down there. And it's become a good feeder league for the UFC, I think. And you know, I don't think George has any delusions of competing with the UFC, which is good because as long as you don't get under Dana's skin, and you are producing these good fighters and building their records for the UFC to pick from, then he doesn't seem to really to mess with these guys too much. So I think that George is building a great promotion. Is a great. I mean, in Florida, you know, for those who don't know, you either have to throw amateur shows or pro shows. And so I myself, my partner and I, we do amateur shows because we don't have it in the budget to do pro shows. Because if you do pro, you're adding $20,000 or $30,000 to your budget. You have to pay all the fighters, etc. So for the guys that are fighting in Florida that are professional, it's hard me included. Before I got signed, it was hard for a lot of us to find fights because there weren't many guys doing pro shows because it just makes more sense financially to do amateur shows. And George is one of those guys who has went out on a limb and found a way to be successful while doing pro shows, and he's really the only one that I know of that's consistently doing it in Florida. You have the RFC, and you have maybe the Art of Fighting that puts maybe one or two shows on a year professionally, but the CFA is busting them out, and obviously they're getting national coverage with the stuff that they're doing.
Josh, one more that I want to throw at you, and before I bring it up, is it disrespectful, because I want to make sure so I don't do it, if you call a fighter overrated?
No, I think that some fighters have to. There are some fighters that is the only way to describe them. If that's what. I don't think it's disrespectful to answer your question. No, I think that's a fair assessment of some people.
Okay, so with that said, then talk to us about a fighter between, in my opinion, a fighter that's overrated versus a fighter that's underrated, and that's the Roy Nelson versus Czech Congo fight.
Oh, I think that, so you're saying that Roy is overrated and Czech is underrated?
No, I'm saying it the other way around.
Other way around. You think that Roy is underrated and Czech is overrated, correct?
I do think that. I think everybody's in love with Czech more because of his physique.
It's his physique, absolutely. But for those of us who have been following the sport for a while, we know that Czech is kind of hit or miss, and I think that I'd like to, I've seen his interviews and stuff, and I think he's a smart guy, but for some reason, he's just not 100% consistent. And when he comes to fight, it's always exciting. But Roy is a tough guy to beat because of his fighting style, and just like he's one of those guys where He's really hard to take down. His body type just makes it. He's got a low center of gravity. He's got strong hips, and then recently, he's been, obviously he's always had knockout power. But from what he said, I think he told Joe Rogan in his last interview when he knocked out maybe was it Matt Mitrione or somebody that he's just now really studying what he feels like he's just now starting to put the pieces together in his striking and throwing combos, which is kind of scary. Because once he does get his striking to where his grappling is, or where he says from what he says his grappling is a lot better than his striking, and I believe it. If he puts it all together, he's a tough guy to beat. So I don't think I don't see Czech winning that fight. I think that Roy wins.
I just want to go back to something you said. Were you talking about Roy Nelson's fighting style or eating style?
Fighting style. I don't think we mentioned anything about the eating style.
All right, I wasn't sure. So, all right, so you're taking Jones, you're taking Roy Nelson, and then finally Bisping or Belcher.
I think Bisping will win. I do think Bisping will win.
There you have it. What do you have going on in the next couple of weeks? Any shows in Florida?
So many shows, man. It came at a perfect time. I just fought this last weekend. I made my UFC debut, so I'm finally able to kind of take a break and rest a little bit from my career, and we're really focusing on Combat Night and growing the amateur scene here in Florida. We got a great tour coming up. This Friday, I'm up in Tallahassee right now in my hometown. We have Combat Night 13 at the Moon on April 26th in a couple days. We're going to Jacksonville on May 10th for Combat Night 14. We'll be in Orlando on June 8th, and we're making our debut in Miami on June 29th. We're going to try to throw Tampa in there somewhere. I know I keep telling you guys that, but we will come to Tampa sometime this year. But we got 4 really big shows coming up, and we're going to let these play out and then and see what happens next.
As always, Josh, thanks for your time. We'll have you on before the next UFC.
No, thanks so much. Thanks for having me, guys. Talk to you soon.
We will talk to you soon, Josh Samman. For the first time, we've had a guest on during every Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And Josh is staying.
Yeah, he's like that guy at a party. He doesn't know when to leave.
Yeah,
joking.
He should have gotten out when the going was good.
Right, because now we're gonna milk him.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna kill him.
Now he's definitely staying. So
Josh is
him into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. We're the ones who are staying at the party too long with him because hey, we like having him on. He knows his stuff. I think he brings a lot of good insight and always fun to have. And hey, Dominic Cruz put his stamp of approval on him as the guy to watch coming out of this house. And all you heard about this year was how talented that house was. So it'll be fun to watch Josh.
As we're waiting for Allanna Jones to come on, she'll be on here momentarily. As fans, whether if you're listening, if you want to tweet us, if you want to Facebook us, however you want to send your information. As fans, do you like this season where the fights were more competitive, or do you like the season where all the stupidity, all the stuff happens in the house?
No, you know my answer to that. I can. There's enough stupid reality TV shows on. I don't need another one. No, it's competitive fights, and especially I hope most fans think that way. I think true fans feel that way. I just feel like a lot of people look for any excuse to bag on MMA, and if their reality show
look
is
at
talking.
This stupid thing that happened in Boston. What's the first thing they started to say?
Yeah,
this guy trained.
Yeah,
this guy was a boxer. Like it's boxing's fault. Like it's mixed martial arts' fault.
Right.
A guy ran a red light. That doesn't mean that it's MMA's fault.
Yeah. People like to attach that stuff. It's a popular sport. It's a growing sport. It's too violent for a lot of people. So they are, they're looking to bag it. I mean, think about what Dana just went through with this New York stuff. 4 or 5 weeks ago, he's giddy like a schoolgirl that New York's getting done. New York's getting done. This last weekend, they're asking about it. No, I don't think it's getting done.
Wasn't in the budget.
Didn't even get how is that even possible? This is completely good in 49 states. It's generating money for a city. It's doing all that stuff, and yet this one gets held out, and
it's spite.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
all.
What do you say? It's like the culinary union that's really killing it.
Yeah. But here's the thing that I have a problem with. Why does New York need to bother with it when every time they come to Newark, they do everything in New York City?
Yeah.
Maybe don't do all that stuff there. maybe don't have all your press conferences there. Maybe don't have your whole shindig.
Just completely shut them out.
Exactly. If they don't want you there, why are you taking the money to New York City?
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I know when we go to Newark, as media or as fans, we spend a lot of time in the city. It is Newark. There's not a whole lot to do, but don't take everything there. If I'm running a business, if I'm the governor, if I'm the mayor, if I'm whoever, why do I need it if you're coming anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need the actual event.
Right.
That's such a small part of everything else that's going on.
Go spend your time down on the shore, right?
What picture did you see from Malky today on Twitter?
Cabs are here.
The picture of him and John Jones at Times Square with the big billboard of Chael and Jones.
Right, in New York. That's where, yeah. And then people will leave to go watch the actual event.
Right. So to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it's...
Pull it all back.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I agree with you. Like, all right, if you're not going to be part of this, then we don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
But you have to do that. Yeah, you have to. I mean, it is the media capital. You're looking for media. You just kind of have to bite down on the towel and do it.
No, and I know those guys stay in New York City. Everybody, the fighters, the marketing people, the PR, they're at that, whatever that hotel is right by Penn's Station or whatever. But the bigwigs are in New York City. Chuck's in New York City. Dana's in New York City.
Sure.
Or at least that's where they
Well, they still want to push this thing through. I mean, you're right. At what point do they say, all right, you know what, F you guys? But they're still trying to push this through.
Your thoughts if Chael loses on Saturday night?
Or when he loses on Saturday night.
All right, when he loses.
That's the angle I'm taking.
No, I understand.
Okay.
If he loses this fight, what's next for him? Because now he's that guy that, everybody's always said Uriah Faber. Everybody has said Kenny Florian. Everybody has said Rich Franklin. He's the number 2 guy in the one weight division. Mm-hmm. We don't know what he is in light heavy. What's next for him? Where does he go?
Wherever he wants. Wherever he wants. Except a title fight.
So he calls out Kane and then fights for the heavyweight title next?
Except a title fight. He goes wherever he wants.
What fight would interest you? What fight is out there? What fight, because again, it's got to...
Put his name on it and people are interested.
He'll make it exciting.
Exactly. I mean, they don't... There isn't a fight that if they're like, all right, Chael Sonnen, is fighting Vitor. Let's just say, I just throwing a name out there. Are you not like, okay, I'm interested? Chael Sonnen fights a Nogueira. Are you not interested?
I was going to say with the Belfort, now you got 2 TRTers.
Yeah, I mean, he goes wherever he wants, and he's made that ability for himself. He goes wherever he wants, except a title shot. He doesn't get a title shot, but he goes wherever he wants
because he has talked himself that way.
Well, not only has he talked himself that way, and he's built up Chael Sonnen, he does show up and he does fight.
Bisping just got done telling us that he has a really good shot of giving Jones a really good run for his money on this one.
Ironic that you mentioned Jones, because on the phone with us right now, and we've talked about this upcoming fight, Allanna Jones. Allanna, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We appreciate your time. We know that you're at the gym training, and by the way, sponsored by Bonafide Tough Girl, so we needed to talk about that. Big fight coming up. A lot of people have opinions on a fight and a fight versus Fallon Fox, but you're the only person that really matters because you're in there with her. Talk to us about that.
It's definitely a weird situation, but I decided to take the fight because I believe I could beat Fallon Fox, I mean, I still agree with, the strength-wise, she's still going to have that advantage, but, I'm working on techniques and things to defend that. But, I mean, to me, a fight is a fight, and, it was a fight that was given to me, and then I never back out any fight, so I just took it.
When you got the phone call, how did they decide to call you? How did they decide to offer you the fight? And did you have any thoughts about, who it is and maybe not?
Well, when they first called me and told me about the fight, I didn't know if I wanted to take it or not because I didn't know if it was going to be like a bad effect for me to even do it. That's what led me in. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I mean, I've never been in this type of position before, but they called me, and I thought about it for a few weeks, and I said, I'm just going to go ahead and take a fight.
Have you looked at it? Have you thought about, a lot of times we'll talk about fights, maybe the number 2 ranked is going to fight the number 9 ranked, and the 9 has everything to gain and the 2 has, nothing to gain. Is this a fight that you can look at and say you have nothing to lose?
Yeah. I'm going in there, and, I don't think I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to go in there and leave it all in the cage, whether I get the win or I don't. It is what it is.
Now, when you're doing your training, because when this first came up, just the whole Fallon Fox controversy, I guess, we had talked about on this show, and we spoke with a couple females who trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who have competed in different tournaments, and they kept coming up and saying, well, we spar with guys. In our training, we try to make our training harder than the fight. So, we'll do stand-up with guys. We will, do BJJ with guys. Is that your thought, and has that been your approach in the gym?
Yeah, since I've been fighting and training, I've trained with all guys, and I spar guys every day. So that's what kind of made me take the fight, and I'm like, well, I'm in the gym with guys all the time. Guys is way bigger than me, and I'm rolling with them, and I'm sparring with these guys, and they're hitting me, and I'm hitting them as hard as I could, So I feel like, I'm definitely qualified to face Fallon Fox, and I definitely believe I got the skill to beat her.
Hands of Stone nickname, I'm assuming where it said that a big, heavy puncher, huh?
Yeah. I love a punch. I'm a striker. I love to do, I will get in the cage and stand and bang with any chick in the sport.
All right, so
which is a funny term.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, just again, I don't want to come off like Matt Mitrione, but with any chick in the sport, and
yeah.
when this controversy even started, did you have one thought about it, and then you got offered the fight, and since your thinking has changed about it?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear it.
No, it's when this started with Fallon, and the controversy kind of was coming to light. Did you think one way about it, and then a couple weeks later you got offered the fight, and now your thought process about fighting? I don't even know transgender is the right term. Did your thought process change about the situation once you were offered the fight?
No. I knew that I was going to get offered the fight. I thought that was going to be my next opponent anyways, but when it came out that she had sex change and became a woman, I was just like, what the heck? But it was just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe they're allowing this, but that's why I was like, you know what, a fight is a fight to me, and no matter what the situation is, I'm still going to get in there and fight my heart out and try to get the win.
Allanna, I'm going to kind of respond to where you said you can't believe that they're allowing it. Have you ever watched Jerry Springer? And 99% of every episodes, the people come from Florida?
Yeah, I've seen the shows, but never paid that much attention to it. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's Florida. Strange things definitely happen here in Florida.
It's a carnival. It's a carnival of a state.
Let me ask you this. Instead of talking about the fight itself, how did you and Brad at Bonafide Tough Guy and Bonafide Tough Girl get connected?
I've been knowing him for a while. He actually sponsored my brother, Victor Jones. So, and then he finally, we've been talking about it, and he wanted to start a Bonafide Tough Girl line, and he wanted me to be the face of it. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, that's a good idea, and I've even asked him before he even thought about doing it, was you should do a Bonafide Tough Girl thing, So, I mean, I've been knowing him for a little bit.
I would say that, to put your face on a company that's bona fide tough girl and speaking with you, saying a fight's a fight, and knowing what you're doing, your next fight is up against, a former man, what you're saying is a fight is a fight. I think that fits hand in glove for you being the face of bona fide tough girl.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to get in the cage with anyone. If someone asked me to get in there with Cyborg, I would do it. I would go in there and do it because that's my thing. A fight's fight, and even if I lose, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be an easy loss. It's not going to be easy to beat me. I don't care who it is.
Well, people always say publicity is good. Bad publicity, good publicity, any publicity. And your name is definitely out there. We're looking forward to the fight next month, and hopefully we can get you on again before the fight and then after the fight as well.
Of course. That would be awesome. Thank you, guys.
Well, I hate to say go ahead and get back to your training, but go ahead and get back to your training.
All right. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Allanna Jones, the end of May 24th, I think it is.
She's going to have a lot of eyes on her.
Yes, she is.
This isn't
it's a no-lose situation.
Yeah.
It really is, because
no, without a doubt.
If she doesn't win, they're going to say, well, she's fighting the dude.
Right.
And if she wins, she beat a guy or a former guy or a transgender guy or, however you want to call her.
And I think, it kind of puts the story to bed, for as far as the national attention and things like that this has gotten. So, good for her. It's a fight's a fight.
And good for Brad, a bona fide tough guy.
Yeah.
Because this is the perfect person to kind of start that with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, I'll fight anybody. I'll fight a guy. Well, you kind of are. And again, I feel weird talking about it because I don't want to come off like the bigot.
Right. And
I just don't know.
Right. And I've come back and I've talked to Mick Ferrari, our Queer Eye for the Sports Guy expert. And we've kind of talked about it on the day show, and I think he's been on the night show as well. It's a fine line, and you have to be careful, because if you don't, you're Matt Mitrione.
Right, and it's not only I don't want to come off sounding like a bigot, or I don't want to come off sounding like I'm ignorant. I honestly just don't know. I don't understand enough about it, and quite frankly, I'll be honest, I don't even want to research into it to figure it out, because I don't need my wife going on the computer saying, "What are you looking up on the Google search? Transgender."
The police were banging on the door.
MMA. Are you into this? You seek, you sicko or whatever. But I'll say this. Like, I hope it's a good professional fight. I hope each one gets to apply their craft and what they're training on, and hopefully we can move on and it doesn't embarrass MMA, I guess, which is kind of funny because a lot of people I think are looking at it like this is just a circus act.
All right, since you don't want to come across as a bigot, is it good or bad for the sport?
Bad. To
have either one win?
Bad. This attention that this has brought to sport has been bad. Has been bad.
Well, I was saying bigger sideshow, this or James Toney?
This.
I just think the playing field is just so different. I think when you look at
you're talking medical. You're not talking a different sport.
Yeah.
A baseball player going to play basketball or
you can still draw parallels and say at least he's a professional athlete going against another gentleman who's a professional. This is
I stopped myself. I stopped myself only because it might have been a bad analogy that I would have gotten in trouble for.
And he mastered one of those combat sports. It's not like he's coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I see, but it's still pretty big.
Well, I think it's also a little bit bad timing, too, considering women's MMA has really only recently started to really be put out on the forefront. If this was something that happened maybe 2 years down the road from the beginning of all of this, then maybe it's a different situation.
I disagree. Have it happen now. Let's deal with it right now and get it out of the way and know how we can use, do this moving forward.
How about we look at it a different way? It's not Fallon Fox's fault.
Absolutely.
This is a person that wanted to do what she did. Which is legal.
It's nobody's fault.
No, I'm saying. And she has the right.
Certainly.
If she's a female now.
I like
to go and do this.
What's really messed up is if you really think about it.
Didn't they change it in tennis?
If you step back, I don't.
No, I believe
I'm not up on my tennis rules.
I believe in tennis they changed it to play in the women's tournament. You have to have been born a woman,
a female,
right?
Because they've come across
exactly
it.
because they did come across it. So
I just find it funny that think about this. We spent 10 minutes talking about this fight that is a month away. That is women's MMA. That's not in the UFC. I mean, think about there's 3 check marks that usually don't hit on our radar.
Sure.
If a fight's a month away, it's down on the pecking order. If it's not in the UFC, it's down on the pecking order. For me, if it's women's MMA, it's really
on the pecking order.
Right. I mean, it's barely a blip on the radar. And here we are talking for 10 minutes with a UFC this weekend, with the arguably the best fighter pound for pound in the main event.
He said it,
and here we are.
He said it.
Ironic that you brought that up.
People are saying it.
Ironic that did we already discuss this?
I don't know what you're.
And I know you're not a fan of pound for pound, but depending on how this fight goes down on Saturday night, and I already know that I get ripped on a regular basis, so I'm expecting to get ripped for this.
A regular basis, yes.
Depending on how this fight goes down Saturday night, depending on if Jon Jones wins.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
And how Jon Jones wins. I am contemplating moving Jon Jones on the pound-for-pound list on my ballot.
Sure you are.
To number 1.
Sure you are. Sure you are.
Well, if you talk to Chael, he's already up at number 1.
But it has nothing to do with what Chael said.
No, I understand.
I'm looking at who he's fought and who Anderson Silva has fought.
His resume is ridiculous. Jon Jones.
Yeah, Jon Jones.
But I will say this. Anderson...
It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
That's who his division was, and he's cleaning it out. I feel like you're not going to be the only one who does it.
Sure.
Which
sucks because I wanted to be the only one.
Right, and I don't think you are. I think everyone is waiting for Jon Jones so they can do
and
that.
I have been waiting.
Yeah. And to me, it's a very and again, it's why I hate, discussing pound for pound stuff, but it's a very, what have you done for me lately thing. And I think people are just wanting to do that because it's not Anderson's fault he keeps winning.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And how he's doing it. But I feel like, the median people who talk about this stuff, they want something new to talk about, and they want some sort of controversy to talk about. He's expected to win this fight.
Sure.
He's a heavy favorite. So to me, this fight doesn't bump him up anymore. How he finishes, it doesn't bump him anymore.
Because it's Chael.
Because it's a guy who wasn't even a champion in a lower division coming up to fight him. But I feel like people are going to say, this is like a crowning moment. He's a heavy favorite, gang.
Last week we had Jovan Haye on, and I told Jovan Haye on Friday at the press conference that people said, what the heck was Jovan talking about? Because the press conference was until Friday. Well, the press conference has now happened, so let's welcome back to the program to kind of discuss a little bit on PostShareSell.com. My good friend, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Jovan Haye. Jovan, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Ray?
Not too bad. I appreciate your time on short notice, but now we can kind of let some of the cat out of the bag on exactly what that means, what PostShareSell means.
Well, yes, PostShareSell. We've created it's classified websites, but we don't like to call it classified. We like to call it online shopping mall. But basically, it's 2 market spaces: a consumer market space, which is socialetrader.com, and our business market space, which is B2B eTrader.com. But PostShareSell is the power behind, the engine behind both market space. But yes, it's a like you said, it's a classified website, personal and business, and we have a lot of social integration to help you sell your products, sell your business ideas, depending on which market space you're on. But we've made it easier for people to buy, sell, trade, and eventually we'll have a bartering section on there. Like you said, it's we like to say we're in the middle between Craigslist and eBay. So you're going to get some stuff, functions that that I could get that that are real beneficial, in today's economy as far as selling, buying, and trading. But like you said, we like to say we're somewhere in the middle.
Well, it was interesting, Jovan. I went on the website, and you can get anything from, a hat or a watch all the way up to a turnkey business that you can purchase and be in business tomorrow right here in the Tampa Bay area.
Yes, definitely. Like you said, we're trying to bring business. We're based in Tampa, but we're trying to, make sure that, we cater to, the Tampa area. But eventually, we do want to, extend outside of the state of Florida. But, one thing that's very unique is that, we separated, like you said, the market space because, a lot of times you're looking for, say, for instance, you're looking for a laptop. You don't have to sift through cars and homes to get laptops. So we, like you said, we separated, Personal,
I know that
go to social.
Right.
Business, go to B2B. So, it's very unique, something new. We designed it this way to make it easier on the user. And, like I said, hopefully, people sign up, go to the websites, like it. Like I said, it's socialetrader.com, B2Betrader.com, and then PostShareSell.com is where you could find, learn more about both market space.
And I know that we're going to talk about this, in detail over the next couple of weeks and next couple of months. But you made a comment that countries in Africa showed interest, and I just want to volunteer to go with you to Africa, to kind of get the word out.
Yes, we've had, yes, you can come anytime, but we had, a few CEOs of companies in Africa, especially with our last beta website. They wanted to, they wanted us to bring it there, but, we told them, appreciate it. But right now we haven't even, really stepped foot in the Tampa market, so we can't bring it overseas if we don't have the United States where we wanted to have it. So eventually, like I said, we're going to have to branch out if it gets big enough, because we just don't want it just strictly in the United States. But we want to make sure everyone in the United States, these economies, these neighborhoods and businesses are taken care of home first before we branch off. But it was a good thing, for someone to want a beta website philosophy to go abroad. I mean, that's pretty good. So, we're having our fingers crossed, but, we're taking baby steps. But I definitely want people to go on there. And, like I said, man, we're just trying to make it easier. We're trying to make it easy on everyone. And that's what we're all about, small businesses and about the consumer.
And we've got some swag to give away, and we're going to do that. Jovan, thank you for your time. But before I let you go, I need to ask you, have you yapped today?
Not yet. It's coming. I needed to, but I will be yapping real soon.
All right. Sounds good. Jovan Haye, everybody. We'll talk to you again real soon, Jovan.
Have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Jovan Haye is going to be involved. And, yeah, another app is coming out that he's involved with, and it has to do with yapping. And that's all I can say.
These Vanderbilt boys,
Yep.
he's. I never worried about Jovan.
No.
Jovan's gonna, he's gonna do this, and there's not a doubt in my mind it's gonna be successful.
They're giving away $25,000.
Can I have it?
And we're going to be involved in the giveaway.
No, I don't want to be involved in the giveaway.
You want it.
Unless that involvement means putting it in my trunk.
How about this? You can have the 25,000.
Okay.
I can go to Africa.
Well, I want to go to Africa because you've already been to Africa.
I have been there.
You've been there. Done
Have
that.
at it. I want the cash.
Yeah.
I need the cash.
You've already
Cash
almost
money right
started
there.
an international incident. We don't need
Yeah,
another
that was in
one.
Djibouti, and I also was in Kenya as well. So we only have a couple minutes left. Give me your guys' thoughts, feelings, take on this weekend.
Jim Miller, Pat Healy. Let's just get into the picks.
Jim Miller, Pat Healy. I feel like it sounds like Miller's overlooking him here. Give me Healy.
Healy's not a scrub coming into this.
I know,
right.
Look at the people he's fought, who he's beat, who he's lost to. It's not like it's a strike force fighter coming in. I'm taking Healy.
Wags?
I was going to say Healy as well.
All right, just for the sake of being me, I'll go
You're
Miller.
Miller. Yeah.
Phil Davis, Vinny Maghalis.
Yeah, this
is good.
Former Ultimate Fighter runner-up. I
Yeah.
believe Ryan Bader was the one who beat him.
Yeah, this one's gotten a lot of heat going back and forth too.
It does.
I got Phil Davis.
I do too.
Phil.
Yeah.
And again, for a lot of the same reasons that I always do. Come in and show me. I know how good you are. I do. I know how good. But, Phil's ranked. Phil, in that listing that you don't like, Phil's in the top 10, and I think he'll stay there.
All right, the battle of the physiques. Roy Nelson, Jack Unga.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with Josh Samman, who we had on earlier about this. I think when it comes to making it a fight, I don't think Czech Congo wants to be in a fight, and I think Roy's going to his heavy hands are going to win.
I'm going with underrated.
You're going with Roy.
Roy Nelson.
Of course, yeah.
Roy
In the first. I say
now.
the first. Easily.
I was at one of these events. I don't remember which. I'm in a restaurant with some of the UFC people.
Restaurant food.
And yeah,
Chef.
shocking.
Wow.
And the waiter came over and he said, "Holy crap! Do you know who was just in here? The greatest fighter in the history of MMA." And I'm thinking, "Holy crap! Who was here?" I mean, I've covered the sport forever. He was talking about Chet Congo.
Yeah, close.
Come on.
Close.
I swear that's a true story.
Co-main event: Michael Bisping, Alan Belcher.
I got the count. Every time I've been built up on Belcher, he lets me down. And I think I sold that stock, and I think the count gets him.
I think Michael Bisping is one of the top elite fighters in the division.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely do. I think Allen's on I think in that rankings he's 9 or 10, and I think Bisping's around 3 or 4. And I think that's true. I think Michael Bisping is that good. And I'm going to go with Bisping as well.
I think Bisping proves how good he is. First round finish.
You think he closes it quick?
He's got a lot to show after the last fight.
Sure.
And he's been building this up. He's going to go in there and get the job done.
I don't know about first round, but yeah, he definitely has the superior skill set. So Bisping.
Main event
of the evening.
It would be a huge shocker if Chael pulls this off. I think John Jones, if he's not the number 1 fighter in all of the UFC, he's number 2, and John Jones keeps his title.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. I think do we set an over/under on how long he lasts? Kind of like I did with the son or not the son of fight, but the Anderson's fight against what's his name, Bonner.
Unfortunately, we'll have to do it on Twitter. We are out. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Don't go anywhere. This is Knockout Radio.